Nobody should be the next action franchise. And of course, I'll be talking about Nobody 2 as well. And in case you haven't gotten to see it yet, or even the first one, which you should absolutely do as soon as humanly possible, I'm not here to ruin any possible experiences you probably haven't had yet with these two movies. And sure, you could simplify these movies as a typical action blockbuster or something like that, but this should be the next action franchise that we should all be investing in, and it's far more worthy of it than some recent attempts that aren't remotely close. For context, there was this little action movie in 2015 that made some waves called Hardcore Henry. And in case you have no clue what I'm referring to, feel free to add it to your watch list. But it's far from perfect, but its approach specifically, which hopefully you can see on the screen right now, is what made it stand out. And fast forward a couple years, now we're in a pandemic, but the man responsible for that small first-person action movie was now directing another one. This time a John Wick-esque revenge action movie, which definitely wasn't the first film to take advantage of this momentum and craze that John Wick reinvigorated into the action genre. But instead of a Keanu Reeves or a Charlize Theron, it was with Bob Odenkirk. Yes, you heard me correct. The lawyer from Breaking Bad. Saul Goodman was gonna throw fists and shoot Uzis. Then the movie came out, and it was utterly phenomenal. And many things made this stand out from John Wick far more than the other plethora John Wick clones we've gotten. For example, its soundtrack was genius. The narration and physical comedy, the family aspect, and obviously the main character's age, but more specifically, how that exactly affected him as a killer or this assassin. The bus fight is easily the most famous and popular thing to come from these two movies, and it's for good reason. Not only does it establish our character, 𝙀𝙀, as someone who can indeed beat ass, but it also establishes that whooping ass isn't perfect. He doesn't have a bulletproof suit, or he's not doing gun fu and flipping all over the place. He's old, he's weathered, and he's beat. And it's been a while since he's got back into the game, and it shows almost immediately. He's taking punches, kicks, stabs, and it all feels tangible. You would think you can spot the stunt double or lazy slow choreography, but Odenkirk is completely committed, and you can tell. The gritty look and sound design adds texture to every environment while also making you feel every punch and bullet. The choice to have 𝙀𝙀 consistently bruised and beat while motivated through his own family makes it nearly impossible not to root for the guy. His son thinks his dad is kind of a coward after an earlier incident. He's constantly falling behind on being a productive figure in his household, and it even spreads to his workplace. But all these things are to lay a solid foundation for the actual hook of the film, which is 𝙀𝙀 being this mysteriously and highly accomplished assassin. That, coupled with just enough lore and clues to his past to make you beyond interested in this character and this world. How his upbringing connects to his blood-filled past, to the organizations he operated in, and the many jobs he successfully completed. All these things garner some type of reaction from other characters in the film that make you want to know more. The guy at the tattoo parlor seeing 𝙀𝙀's tattoo, hinting at some sort of operation he was a part of.
Thank you for your service.
The woman who was tasked to do some research on 𝙀𝙀 for her boss to get revenge.
I'm out, no need to pay. Good luck.
Why you much?
The barber, seemingly at a higher position, seeing 𝙀𝙀 back and who he's messed with. Even his relationship with his own wife is unfolded pointing to a past where this was probably normal for them. And these ideas are all communicated nearly flawlessly with a mix of comedy, stakes, and tension. I mean, this scene alone instills Hutch's entire character with very little dialogue, and his actions only further prove it's the truth.
Deep down, I always knew it was a facade. It lasted a lot longer than I expected.
And this movie was the best shock into the bloodstream audiences could have wanted from this genre, especially during such a rough time. And then 4 years later, after writer strikes and many delays, we finally got a sequel. And while the sequel doesn't expand the world as much as I hoped it would, it still managed to relatively keep its quality and standard while adding more to Hutch's family. It also does almost a 180 from the first, going in a more fun adventure type of direction, due to Hutch getting back into the fold, making his relationship with his family become distant. They all go on a vacation and to spend more time together, strengthening their bond once again. And during that process, that's when that chaos ensues, resulting in individual and collective growth. It also makes more connections to Hutch's past and how this location that they're going to opens a Pandora's box of possibilities to play with in the future. There is proper character work here with some of the best action all year, and it was surprisingly hilarious, like one of the funniest movies I've seen all year as well. But for some reason, audiences aren't showing up as much as I personally hope they would. It doesn't help releasing soon after the huge hit that was Weapons, but man, it just breaks my heart to see The Accountant 2 make over $100 million with 4 times the budget of this movie, being just as convoluted as the first, with just as little action as the first, just as little intrigue for the characters as the first, all while not looking even half as good as Nobody 2. Or these recent Jason Statham movies where he's dressing up like a blue-collar worker who's unsurprisingly beating people's asses to an inch of their lives, coupled with thin character work and an uninteresting story, some lazy exposition, and terrible setup with action also not nearly as good. While my small channel won't be making any big waves particularly, I advocate for you to go give this franchise the chance it deserves. The Beekeeper 2 is going to be directed by the same person that made this movie, yet The Beekeeper 2 is the one people are looking forward to instead of this? There are potential spin-offs here and actually investing things on the table from these movies, but audiences have just left it in the dust. Is it the greatest thing since sliced bread? No. Does it have the spectacle that remotely competes with the recent John Wick movies? Of course not. And did this sequel release far too late? Most likely, but this is and should be the next action franchise that we should all be supporting. Some might say the action isn't big enough or the set pieces aren't inventive in a way that makes it stand out more than it should, and to that I say, obviously, these movies aren't made for hundreds of millions of dollars, but that can't stop people from getting it there. John Wick didn't start out driving through the Arc de Triomphe with a shotgun that shoots fire. It needed to get there. It climbed, made more money to the point where we had a $100 million John Wick movie. That seemed nearly impossible to imagine after the first, but somehow it got there, and it was through audiences supporting it. And while Bob Odenkirk certainly doesn't have the star power of Keanu Reeves or even the longevity of him either, I feel like that should be an even bigger reason as to why we should be making this franchise take off. I would gladly watch 3 more of these, maybe bring his son into the picture, or visiting Hutch's past. There are so many elements within these 2 movies that are actively investing compared to what exactly a beekeeper, construction worker, and an accountant. That first Nobody movie shocked audiences, and the sequel was never going to have that same impact, but the momentum could have and should have still been there. The first movie is one of my favorites of this entire decade so far, and easily my favorite of all the John Wick clones. And the second one, while it's not as perfect, still up to the action, and it was wildly hilarious. RZA has a line in the second movie that got like a full minute of laughter from my audience, and it nearly drew tears from my eyes. And it's because it is actually trying. It might not be as amazing or flawless as the first movie, but the quality is still on the screen. Bob Odenkirk is still just as committed, and it's attempting to separate itself in some way. What more should audiences need or want for this to become the franchise I had hoped it would become after seeing that first movie? So next time we get another one of these Jason Statham movies that aren't remotely as good in any way, and you go see it, which I'm not advising you not to, just don't be surprised if at some point you ever ask yourself, why couldn't this be Nobody 3? And if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Giving this video a thumbs up would let me know to make more of these kinds of videos and like essays, and subscribing would also mean the world. I appreciate you all more than you know. And please, as always, don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. But other than that, stay safe. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. And who am I?
Me?